Hi, my name is William Beam with Suburbia Press. I'm about to fill out a worksheet with my own actual software history, real tools, real receipts, and show you exactly what I've spent over the years and what switching to self-hosted infrastructure actually saved me. This is not a hypothetical example. This is my real stack going back as far as 2012 in one case. Let's go through it category by category. Okay, so this is the Stack Audit. Quick note what this actually is. It's two things. A PDF, this one over here, and that walks you through the method step by step. And then there's this spreadsheet over here. The spreadsheet does the math for you automatically once you plug in your numbers. I'll be working on the spreadsheet for most of this video, but the PDF is what explains why each category matters. So if we kind of scroll down, you can see there's various sections here, some of it which, if you prefer to fill things out manually, you can do. But then there's some notes in here that kind of tells you what you get out of this and what it doesn't capture. So we're looking at the financial issues here, but there's more benefits to going to self-hosted than there is just by looking at the numbers. But anyways, the PDF explains why each category matters. It's got a section near the end that I'm not going to skip. So let's go ahead and take a look. This worksheet has 8 categories. So there's the CRM, forms, booking, community, courses, e-commerce, project management, and help desk. I'm going to fill in my real numbers for each one at a time. The first one is going to be the CRM. I used to run 2 ConvertKit accounts, one for each of my 2 businesses. The real receipts, $290 a year each, 2 accounts, so that was $580 a year combined. So you can take a look. This is my email with a receipt for just one of those accounts, $290. And I ran this for a few years. So this one's from July 2024 that lasted through 2025. Both of those accounts are gone now. I switched both businesses to use FluentCRM. I bought a 5-site lifetime license for $299 after a 50% coupon. The list price was $598. So let me show you that receipt. So this is from my dashboard inside of the WP Managed Ninja account. So you can see I paid $299. The price subtotal here was $598. I had a coupon discount. So I paid $299 once versus $580 a year. Basically, this purchase paid for itself in about 6 months. Everything since has been pure savings, and I've still got 3 more site licenses that I haven't used for a business yet. I do use them for occasional demos and testing and so forth. Now, keep in mind, FluentCRM no longer has a lifetime license. But when we look over here, we'll see that I've put in the prices for the annual cost. So if you decided to go for FluentCRM, it would be $129 a year now instead of going for $290 for ConvertKit, for example. The next category we're going to look at is forms, and this one's a little different. I didn't come from a SaaS tool here. I came from another self-hosted plugin, Gravity Forms, going all the way back to 2012. Now, the truth is, I can't find that old invoice anymore, but here's what Gravity Forms cost today. $59 a year for one site on the basic tier, $159 for 3 sites on Pro, which is the tier you'd actually need for most of the add-ons. And several of the official add-ons I needed weren't available unless I paid for a higher tier with third-party add-ons running anywhere from $99 to $349 a year on top of that. And I hope you'll take my word for that. I was going to show you what the pricing is on the Gravity Forms website, but as you can see, they're having problems at the time that I'm doing this recording, so the connection is not private. You can go check that out for yourself, but the pricing was anywhere from $99 to $349 a year. In 2021, I switched to Fluent Forms Pro. Unlimited sites, one payment of $218.75. So let me show you the receipt for that. So you can see here, $218.75. Again, I got a coupon discount for this one. It was going to be $350, and that is a one-time payment. Fluent Forms, an unlimited version. Now, I can't use an unlimited amount of Fluent Forms on different websites. WP Managed Ninja no longer offers this kind of deal. That was 5 years ago. One payment, 5 years, unlimited sites. At Gravity Forms' current pricing, that's a minimum $795 to $1,295 over the same 5 years. And that's before any of the add-ons. Even with self-hosted tools, bundling matters. So I was fortunate that I found this deal. Matter of fact, this is the very first product that I ever bought from WP Managed Ninja, and that kind of got me introduced to how they do business and why I recommend them. But Fluent Forms has been an outstanding tool, and getting it at a lifetime deal for as many sites as I wanted is just an outstanding value. And that's something I want you to keep in mind. When WP Managed Ninja introduces a new product, typically they introduce it with a lifetime plan for a period of time. And then after that, eventually it goes back to being an annual renewal. So if you are paying attention to them, you can see when new products come out, maybe you can get a lifetime deal on something else that's yet to come. So I'm going to put this in here, and you can see where I've got places for plugin licenses that are annual. And I'm showing a number of things down here, but there's also a section on this spreadsheet for lifetime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Fluent Forms from here, and I'm going to change this to 0 so it doesn't add up as part of the calculation. You can see it drop there. I'm going to put it down here. So if you want to change and add things that are part of your plans, maybe you did get some lifetime deals, maybe you only have annual licenses, that way you can come in here and change these numbers to see what they're going to be. So as I said, this was $218.75 one time. And you can see how this is changing my total lifetime costs down here. The next category we're going to look at would be booking. This is one where I used Acuity scheduling, which later became Squarespace. So it was folded into Squarespace scheduling. That was $168 a year for an emerging tier. So if I look at this, let's change this number over here. So we want to be fair. I'm looking at monthly costs over here. So for ConvertKit, my monthly cost for 2 of them was $48.33. For Forms, what I was paying for Gravity Forms, I'm going to take this one out because since I couldn't find my receipt, I don't want to tell you, I'm not going to add something up that wasn't exactly what I was doing. And also, Gravity Forms is a plugin. It's not a SaaS tool, so I'm going to skip that over here. And this is something you can do. You can kind of change what you have. So if you were using a Typeform or Jotform or something like that, then yeah, add your monthly cost over here. If you weren't using anything, just zero it out. So Squarespace scheduling was costing me $14 a month. So you can see over here, it was $168 for a year. That breaks down to $14 a month for the year that I was using it. So that's where I came up with that amount. I switched to FluentBooking, a 5-site lifetime license for $249. So you can see over here, $249, 5 sites, lifetime license. Something else I want to point out about something like FluentBooking, if you use a SaaS service, that price is per seat. In other words, it's not just a license for a site, but they also charge you based on the number of agents you have working. So that $14 a month that I was spending, if I had someone else working with me, would have been another $14 a month. And then as you add on staff, another and another. That's not the way it is with FluentBooking. You install this, you can have as many agents as you want. It is still the same price. So that is my receipt. And that, again, since it is a lifetime license, I can use it on 5 different WordPress sites, and I can have unlimited agents. So we've got that over here. Let's come down to FluentBooking. And my lifetime cost was $249. And as we do this, you can see it's updating the totals down here. But think about that, $168 a year versus $249 once. Paid for itself in a year and a half. That's just for me as a solo user on one site. If you consider the fact that if maybe you've got a shop, maybe you've got a service like barber or hairstylist, and you've got a number of people in there who need to have bookings for their services, well, that costs you money for each and every person when you're using software as a service. When you're using a tool like FluentBooking, you're not paying those licenses for each person. You're just paying for the software. All right, coming up next, we're going to look at community. I run FluentCommunity, but before that, I ran the BuddyBoss theme and platform on 2 separate sites. That was $288 per site, bought twice, so a total of $576. One-time purchases, not subscriptions. but still two separate purchases for two separate sites. So you can see BuddyBoss theme, there's a child theme, and the platform. And that was for $288 each. As I said, I bought these twice. So that was a total of $576. If I want to try and look at this on my SaaS inventory, well, there's a couple of problems there. First off, it's not a SaaS tool. Second, I've got a lifetime license for BuddyBoss, so I could try to figure this in here, but that cost is spread out for more than 2 years. So this is something where I'm just going to zero this out because I don't want to fudge numbers. I want to show you what things actually look like. If you're using something like Circle, then that's going to start at $89 a month and probably go up depending upon what you want. There are other services out there. Maybe you're using Patreon or something like that. Not only are they charging you for your access and maybe something like school, but also they take a commission off of what you sell. So Patreon in particular, it's not just a matter of the processing fees, which, for any service, it'll take like Stripe using transaction fees would be a small percentage plus 30 cents. Like 2.9% is usually a credit card fee. They take a lot more using some of these software as a service things. So I'm going to blank this out here. I'm not going to put it in because I don't want to add that as a monthly cost for SaaS when it wasn't a SaaS tool. I'm going to come down here to FluentCommunity. I bought a 10-site lifetime license for $200. So let me show you that receipt. So you can see 10 sites, lifetime license, $200. Never have to pay for it again. That price was actually a community exclusive rate, lower than the standard public price. $576 for 2 sites of BuddyBoss versus $200 for up to 10 sites. Both existing sites covered 8 licenses to spare. I think that I made a better deal with FluentCommunity Pro. All right, so the next category is courses or learning management systems. This is the one with the most history. I went through 3 different tools before landing here. So let me show you some of the receipts of what I went through. The first one was Teachable. I paid an annual rate of $348 for Teachable. When I was using BuddyBoss, it did not have any course system installed, so I had to go ahead and get a plan for LearnDash that was $189 a year. And keep in mind, I had 2 sites, so I had to double this amount. So I was paying for LearnDash $189 for each site a year. Another tool that I used was called ThriveCart Learn Plus. This is a SaaS tool, but it was a one-time payment for $195. That's kind of part of the story. I'm going to explain the rest of it when we get to e-commerce. I had to buy the regular ThriveCart e-commerce plan first, and then this was an add-on tool. So you can see that for putting up things on my chart here, I've gone through the gamut of what was or wasn't a good tool for me. So for courses, I'm going to start with Teachable. And that amount that I paid for a year, $348, came out to $29 a month. So I'm going to leave this number here. That's just the starter plan. Again, as you increase, the number of users you have, if you want different tiers, you start paying more. LearnDash Plus, $189 a year, starting just a few months later in 2020, running alongside BuddyBoss for the community side, and ThriveCart Learn Plus, $195 one time in 2021. 3 tools, 3 purchases, about 2 years. Well, I don't have to worry about putting something else down here in either my plugin licenses or my lifetime licenses because FluentCommunity handles courses natively. There's no separate tool needed, and that's the same $200 lifetime license I already counted under the community, so it's not a second charge. These 3 tools, the 3 purchases, 2 years of switching, now covered by one $200 license that was already doing something else for me too. That was a bargain. The next thing we're going to do is look at e-commerce and online sales. So you can see I've got an example in here for the basic Shopify, again at $29 a month. But before FluentCart, I used ThriveCart Pro, which was a $690 one-time after a coupon. List price was $2,995. So let me show you the receipt for that. So here you can see it. What I paid was $690. The list price, $2,995. Got a coupon, paid the $690. So not a bad deal for me. So what am I going to do over here? Well, I'm going to change this out. I'm not going to put anything in. because having a one-time payment there, in my particular case, didn't matter. If you're using another tool over here, you can put in your numbers. So that's the thing about this calculator. It's not just one size fits all. This is for you to do an inventory of your own stuff and see what your numbers are. I can be straight with you here. I got FluentCart now, and I got it for free. It was a VIP exclusive 100-site license from WP Managed Ninja. Since I've worked with their products for years, that's not what you'd pay. So even though it was free, I still got a receipt for it. But this is takes a look at my purchase history. You can see my invoice number and 100 sites, VIP exclusive. Didn't pay for that one. So I'm not going to be adding that, obviously, to my inventory on the stack. If you're buying FluentCart today, lifetime pricing still exists for this one. It starts at about $249. And the top agency tier for 50 sites runs $1,099 one time. The $249 is for one site license. Worth knowing both numbers, what I paid, what you'd actually pay. So the next one, we're going to look at project management or task management. I used Asana. It cost me $375 a year, which actually works out to $31.25. So let me go ahead and change this one. So it says 0 down here, but basically what you're seeing on this one, notice what it says, you will be billed $375 minus any pending discounts, which unfortunately on this one I didn't have, when your trial ends. So this is what they sent me when my trial began. I kept using this for a year, so I paid $375 for this for a year. So instead, I switched to FluentBoards Pro, a 5-site lifetime license again, $209 one time. There we go, 5 sites, lifetime, $209. Let's go ahead and add this down here for FluentBoards. I'm going to change this to 1 because that's how it knows whether to use these values or not. And I'm going to change this amount to $209. Think about that, $375 a year versus $209 once, paid for itself in under a year. One thing about FluentBoards worth mentioning, most people treat it just as a task board. I use it paired with FluentCRM to build an actual sales pipeline, since FluentCRM on its own doesn't have one natively. That's not how most people use it, but it's how I use it, and it's the difference between a task list and a real sales process. So you may have heard people say FluentCRM is not a real CRM. Combined with FluentBoards, the two together, FluentCRM and FluentBoards, do make a real sales pipeline. All right, let's scroll back up. Our next category is Help Desk, and this is one where I don't have a SaaS bill to show you because I just used email. If you use something like Help Scout, Freshdesk, there might be a monthly fee over here. I'm going to go ahead and zero this out because I did not pay anything for that. Now, I'll tell you, using email is not organized. It's not searchable. It's a horrible way to do business. I knew that I needed a help desk tool, but by the time I was ready to actually get one, I got Fluent support. Now, I also did buy one called ThriveDesk, which is a SaaS tool. I've never used it because Fluent support came out about the same time I found out about ThriveDesk. I'm not going to count ThriveDesk here because I didn't really use it. So whatever I paid for it is just kind of a sunk cost, but it wasn't a tool that I was using in my business. So I'm going to come back down to my lifetime licenses and add Fluent support. So that means I'm going to change this to a 0, change this to a 1. And again, the reason I'm changing the 0s and 1s is whether you use it or not. So 1 means yes, you're using it, and 0 means no, I'm not using it. So for Fluent support, that was a fee of $209. So as I said, up here, I left Help Desk blank, and I want to be honest about that. The worksheet tells you to leave a category blank if it doesn't apply for your business. And for a long time, this one mostly didn't for me. But email-based support has its own hidden cost, not just a dollar one. Like I said, there's no history, there's no organization, and no way to search past tickets other than trying to search through your mailbox. It is a horrible way to do it. I would say Fluent support is a better way to go. And if you're buying it today, it runs $129 for one seat, up to $399 depending upon how many seats you want to buy. All right, so before I total this up, I want to slow down for something on the PDF itself and something the PDF insists on. In a section of the spreadsheet alone, I can't show you. It would be dishonest to skip. The dollar figure I'm going to show you is real, but it's not the whole story. and that's this section right over here on page 7. When a platform holds your customer list or your content, you're a tenant, not an owner. There are export limits. A CSV export is a flat file. What you don't get is the automation logic, the relationships between the records. Often it doesn't come with it. Pricing and terms can change without warning on platforms you don't control. That certainly happened on MailChimp and several others. What it means to run tools built by one company that talks to another natively versus stitching together separate platforms with Zapier. I want you to think about that. I'm showing you the cost over here for the tools themselves. Zapier has cost itself just to get in on a plan, and then there are per transaction fees. So the savings number is real and worth acting on by itself, but it's only a part of why this matters. So here's where my own numbers landed. My monthly spend on SaaS tools for these ones that we've put in here was $122.58. Annually, I was spending $1,470.96, almost $1,471. Now, if I went with these plugin licenses, I don't have a monthly cost because I was there to get annual lifetime licenses. Some of these are still available. Some of them you may end up paying an annual fee. But look at the annual fees. They're less than some of the tools that I was saying cost you a year. So $129 versus $290 or $378 or some of the other tools I looked at. You're spending more on SaaS, but there's more to it than that. My total lifetime cost was $1,633. Honestly, that's not bad. And it's not the whole picture either. You're going to have a hosting cost. So if you look at the estimated hosting costs, could be $35. In my case, for my hosting, I'm spending $50 a month. So let's change that. And then email sending, I'm probably not even spending $5 a month, but I'm just going to leave it there because it's very simple and easy to do. So my estimated self-hosting cost is $55 a month or $660 a year. My annual SaaS spend was $1,470.96, as we mentioned. My self-hosted cost was $660. Off of that is a savings of $810. But I also had this one-time investment of $1,633.75. These are my numbers. Your numbers will be different. Some of these categories won't apply to you. You may not have found lifetime licenses, and you're going to have annual renewing fees for some plugins. You may choose different plugins than the one that I've chosen. Some might cost you more than mine did. That's fine. But that's the point. The PDF and the spreadsheet don't predict your result. They give you the method to find it. If you want to run your own numbers the same way I just ran mine, the link is in the description below this video right now. Not somewhere you have to go hunting for it. Click it. You'll get both pieces. The PDF that walks you through the process and the spreadsheet that does the math the second you type in your numbers. It's $37. It takes about 20 minutes to run through and tells you exactly what your own stack is costing you. If you've made it this far, you've already seen what's possible. The link's right there. Go find out what's true for you.